Okay, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Trail Runners Experience. I'm your host, Daniel Ferrugia, and I'm joined today by professional ultra runner. No, he's not a professional yet, but he trains like a professional. It's Matthew Woodman. Welcome, Matthew.
G'day.
How are you today?
Pretty good, thanks.
That's good. And so, very quick, this is a quick fire question to start you off. So, how do you know me?
You're my coach.
That's right. I'm your coach. And that's right. And where are you from?
Adelaide. So, yeah, only about 10 minutes drive from you.
Yeah, there you go. So that's right, Matthew. You're an Adelaide person, and I've been coaching you for how long? Have I been coaching you now?
It would be
Over a
about
year.
14 months. Yeah, I first contacted you in December 2017, I think. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But
yeah.
you only really got back to me in about January, I think.
I know.
I tried a couple of times, I think.
No, it took a while to get
You
the
didn't
ball
want me.
rolling. No, I did. But but we got it happening, and so I've coached you through a few big events now, and so you're a so how long have you been running?
Well, I was probably 2006 was my first decent event. That was the first marathon. But really, I was that kid at high school that always won the cross country. That was me. So I've really been running. I never really trained for them, but I was just that kid that rode their bike like crazy to school and just.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was used to running through high school.
Yeah. So you're like it's funny you should say it like that because like you look at the Kenyans, I mean, and most of them when they were kids they didn't train, they just ran to school, and that's how they built up their aerobic fitness. And so it's the same with your bike. And,
Yeah, it was about the first. I went to one high school up to year 10. That was about 3 k's to school, and I always rode that like flat out. And then I changed schools for year 11 and 12, and that was about 6 or 7 k's from home to school. And I remember just riding, just flat out, and especially in the afternoons, the last couple of lessons at school. I remember I actually noticed it once when I was in history, and I'm sitting there, and I noticed that I had not taken any notice of what the teacher had talked about for like 15 minutes, because I was just thinking about how I can do that first part of the ride a bit faster, and how I can get into that corner faster. and it occurred to me that I actually had butterflies in my stomach, as though I'm about to start a race. And all I'm doing is getting ready to ride home from school, but I'm riding like it's the Olympic time trial every day.
Amazing. That's something weird. Like you've built up some it's you built up some like association with your bike ride that you like. So on some level you've been competitive.
Yes.
Regardless, are you the kind of guy that like wants to be the first finished eating like at dinner time, or like do you have a race?
No, I'm not a fast eater as it happens, but I enjoy my food. But no, I am. Some people say, anyone who says to me it's not a race, I always add, said by the loser. It's not a race unless you're winning.
Yeah.
Then it is.
What? So if you come fourth in a race, what are you?
Well,
First loser?
No, you weren't really. It was a training run.
No, that's good. No, I used to ride my bike. Well, I didn't ride my bike to school because I lived right next to my school, so there was no point. But I used to have a mountain bike. I used to ride everywhere, like on the weekends. And in summer, my mates and I, we'd always meet up and we'd go swimming in the river. It was a few kilometres, and we'd meet at the top of this really steep hill. And we'd go, okay, after school, 4:30, we'll meet at the top of it was called Crams Road, and it was about 1 kilometre straight down, and the river was at the bottom of the hill, and we'd have this full-on bike race down the hill. And I don't know, no one ever actually nailed themselves, but we used to get so competitive on our mountain bikes down the hill, and you're just coming so close to each other, so I totally get it. And
So that was my training, yeah.
yeah, so you got fit that way, and it's that incidental fitness.
Yeah, you don't notice. You're not deliberately doing that for fitness.
Yeah, you're just doing it because you want to see how fast you can go. And it's funny, humans like to push limits, and I think it starts when you're real little, when you're a baby. Like that's what sets us apart from the rest of the animal kingdom. So there you go. So you didn't go into professional bike riding, but
I did a couple of triathlons where but I only did, because because I didn't want to swim. So it was a couple of triathlons where it was a team triathlon. So one kid would do the swim, one would do the bike ride, and one would do the run. And I was a pretty good runner, but usually I could find there'd be another kid at school who'd be a good runner as well. And I'd say, well, you do the run and I'll do the ride then. That happened probably 3 or 4 times. So
Yeah,
I did
wow.
a few, like where it'd be like a 30K ride or something.
Yeah.
As
Oh
a
wow.
15, 16-year-old, yeah.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I think I did a duathlon as a team where it was just ride and run, and I did the run. But yeah, not to that distance. But yeah. So anyway, and so you said when you were at school in cross country, you would win a lot,
Yes.
and just I suppose it became expected. Woodman's going to win again. Is it
Well,
that kind of thing?
I never was guaranteed. I should have been because like the evidence was there.
Yeah.
But there'd be, because I also wasn't really a popular kid, and there'd be always a bunch of dickheads that would try and kind of take you down and things. And so every year I'd be, oh God, they could actually, they're telling me that they've been training and things, and I wouldn't really train. And so I think, oh no, this is going to be embarrassing. And so yeah, there'd always be nerves until you're like about a third of the way into the race. You think, okay, same as always.
Yeah.
And yeah, but yeah, I still ran hard.
Yeah. It's there's nothing. I've never been so nervous. I mean, the most nervous I've ever been in any race was in like high school cross country races. Can you relate to that?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
More nervous than any ultra that I've ever done. It's funny, isn't it? So after school, and you were you're a good runner, and then so you're growing up a bit. So in your 20s and 30s, did you
Didn't
run?
run in my 20s. No, I just got a car.
Yeah.
And got a car. And got
It's heaps
fat.
quicker.
Got fat. And so yeah, I probably maybe I might have done a jog here and there. Just go. I must go for a run again. Just do like 4 or 5K jog, and found that it was actually hard. And yeah, I'm quite sure I trained for the City Bay Fun Run, which is 12Ks, and I must have trained for that probably, I don't know, when I was like 28 or something, and done that. I probably did 2 or 3 times in around about the 1 hour mark. I think 1 hour 4 even, so not that fast, but that was
still
as hard as I could go.
Yeah.
But also being kind of disappointed with myself, but then kind of realizing, no, I'm in my late 20s now.
You're practically old.
And
Yeah.
and I was a bit fatter then, because you just do.
Yeah. And then so what made you go take it to the next level? So stepping up to the bigger distances.
Yeah, so I think I thought to myself after one City Bay Fun Run, I must have done it 3 or 4 times, and I thought after one City Bay Fun Run, I thought I'm going to do better next year. Next year I'm going to do there was a target. I think it must have been like 52 or 54 minutes, something like that. When I thought it was 4.5 minute K, something like that. I thought I'm going to get to that next year, and then so I'd started training, and that's in like September. So it must have been like May or something. I start to train. And I think, well, I'm going to do this better this year. And so I just start to, and I did. So I achieved it better. And I thought, if I trained a bit longer, I could do. And I just kept jogging basically after the City Bay. I just kept doing a run, twice a week sort of thing. And then I must have thought, I must do another half marathon, because I'd done some half marathons as a teenager as well. Quite fast actually.
Yeah.
I think my fastest, I'd done 3 as a teenager. And I'm fairly sure that my fastest half was, I think it was an hour and 21.
Oh, wow.
I know I'd done 2 at like 92 and 93 minutes.
And that was just more ass than class kind of thing?
There was a teacher at school who'd give me some training advice and said, written out a bit of a program. He said, this is what you probably should do, because he was a runner himself.
Oh, wow.
And, I was in the running boom. This would have been in like 80, 89, something like that.
Prime running boom.
Yeah. And
pre-Strava.
Yes.
Well pre-Strava.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, this teacher was a smoker, for example. I remember that. And so, yeah, I'd done a few halves. And then, so by the time I was, I must have been like 29 or something years old. I'm 45 now, by the way. And I thought, I'd do a half marathon. And it was quite a goal at that point to do a half marathon, even though I knew that I'd done some before. And I did maybe the Barossa half marathon one year.
Yeah.
We've got it written down.
And you nailed it. 120.
No, not that. No, that 121. That was when I was like 14, actually.
Right, yeah, okay.
But
so, wow.
No. By the time I was like 29, it would have been like a slow one, like a 150 or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah.
145.
Did that light the fire, though? Did that make you think, I want to keep going?
Oh, yeah, because I'd also recognised that I'd lost probably 5 or 6 kilos. I was probably about 100 kilos at the time. So, I'd lost, a few kilos in the training for it. And so, I just kept, I think after that half, I just kept training a little bit. And then I thought, I'll do that again next year. And then at some point, I reckon I must have said to someone, one of my friends or, I don't know, some acquaintance or someone in the family, because they hadn't really known me running much as a kid. And so they go, are you into running now? I said, yeah, I might even do a marathon. And they kind of go, huh, what? And,
so how old were you at that point?
I must have been, I don't know, like late 20s, maybe
still
30.
Yeah.
I think I did my first, must have been, I'm trying to think what years. Yeah, I was 32 when I did my first marathon. There you go. So it must have been like 30 years old. No, it would have been just before it, because I literally trained for about 6 months for the marathon.
Yeah, wow.
And so at the time, I'm the sort of person who keeps it quiet. I don't go telling everyone I'm going to run a marathon this year. I don't do that. And so until you're close to it, and
you're
say,
more confident.
And people say, what are you running for? I go, I'm going to do a marathon. And so I did the Adelaide Marathon, and
how was that one, the first one?
Very happy with it. I did 3 hours 57 or 54, something like that.
Oh, good.
So I was a bit nervous at the time that I wasn't going to get under 4 hours, because that was the goal. The goal was 4 hours.
Yeah, perfect.
And coming into it, I thought, there's very real possibility it's going to be like 4:10 or something. But yeah, I got 3:54, 3:57, something like that.
And, wow.
And now I've done actually 13 marathons now. But yeah.
And that's impressive. So, bro, have you always gone under 4?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. Keeping it consistent, then that's really good.
Yeah, the most of my marathons have been around about the 3:40 mark, 3:30 to 3:40.
And what's your current PB?
3:19.
3:19.
So I'm just an average bloke though. Like I'm just work full time and train when I can, sort of Mr. Average.
Yeah. No. Well, I'd say you're probably above average in a lot of ways, but that's amazing. Like the consistency is where it comes from, I think. So I guess we're fast forwarding a little bit. So you're now up to, you've done marathons. And so then I suppose the seemingly logical progression is ultra marathons.
Well, actually what happened, do you know what? I remember one of the City Bay fun runs. I must have done probably one marathon at this time. In fact, my first 2 marathons were 4 years apart, because I was doing the first marathon and thinking, well, this is the box ticked. I need to do this crap again. And then there's some people around me having a conversation, which people do in the first half of a marathon, by the way. They never talk in the second half. and these guys, I could hear them talking behind me, and one of them was saying, he said some statistic, which was probably totally made up. And he said something along the lines of all the people that run a marathon, less than 10% run a second marathon.
Yeah, right.
And I just remember taking that in and thinking, oh, shit, you have to do that. Like,
you want to be in that 10%.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then, like, just continue on the marathon. But never, that just hearing that, it never went away from me, but having no intention of doing another one, but thinking kind of a maybe. So, yeah, do another one like 4 years later, and then I think 4 years later again. So the first 3 marathons were...
pretty far apart.
Yeah. 3 in 8 years. But then anyway, I digress. I was lining up for a City Bay fun run, right? And I must have done 1 or 2 marathons at this time. And I see a shirt on a bloke in front of me who I thought was bragging to wear this. I honestly thought this at the time. He's just a show off. It said Yarrabilla Trail 56 kilometre ultra marathon.
Yep.
And he's lining up for a 12 kilometre fun run. And I thought, well, that's just bragging. But then thinking to myself, 56 Ks, now that would be interesting.
Uh-huh.
And
so far.
I know, I'm just lining up with this 12K.
Yeah.
And so that kind of got the juices flowing. And thinking, what was that called again? What was that? It had a weird name to it, the Yarrabilla Trail. And then seeing another shirt for that at another marathon, probably the next Adelaide Marathon actually, someone else wearing it, I'm thinking, okay, I might look that up. And then kind of looking it up and thinking, oh, that's here in Adelaide, okay, righto. And then then thinking, I must do that. And so whatever the year was, I don't know what it was, I thought, okay, I'm going to do the Yarrabilla Trail, but I think I should first do. Well, I think I was training for the Canberra Marathon that year.
Yeah, right.
Which was I think Canberra Marathon's in April, and then noticing that they got a 50K.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll do the 50K because I'd done the Canberra Marathon the year before, and I thought I'll do the 50K this year. So basically stepped it up to the 50K at Canberra. So that was my first official ultra marathon, was 50K at Canberra. And then that same year, I believe, I did the Yarrabilla Trail for the first time.
Yeah.
That would have been 2016.
And so you stepped up to, so the Canberra one was a road ultra.
Road ultra, yeah.
Yeah, and then you stepped
Nice
up
course too, by the way.
Yeah.
I like Canberra Marathon.
Is it fast?
No, it's not bad. It's just got some. It goes on a freeway a little bit, so it's got some long undulating hills.
Yeah.
I don't know what the elevation would
Which
be.
can
It's not
just-
major, but it's just
in a road race,
just
they can
long.
thrash your
Yeah,
legs.
yeah.
So that's good. And so you've done Yarrabilla. So what year
Twice
was that?
I've done Yarrabilla.
Yeah.
I did 2016 and 2017.
Oh, okay.
2016 was my best year there.
That was the year that they had to alter the course
the
because of
muddiest
weather?
course of hell.
Yeah.
And I also did it in road shoes. I do
Yeah.
remember thinking to myself, like trying to run up some of these incredibly steep, muddy hills
Yeah.
in these road shoes, which I'd already done several hundred k's. It was like, trying to go off-road driving in full racing slicks in a car. It was kind of like that. I just couldn't get any grip
Yeah.
trying to get up these hills.
Some of those really steep hills. I know that year, 2016, took us up things like the Boobook track,
Yes.
and I remember that was quite slippery because it was,
Yes.
it's probably close to 45% gradient, and it was muddy.
I remember actually thinking at some points on there, thinking, like watching how other people are doing it, and looking for techniques. How do you actually gain some grip? Like literally having trouble making it up there. Not that my legs have hammered or anything. It's like literally, how do I actually get up this?
Yeah. Like literally like hands and knees kind
Yeah,
of stuff,
yeah.
wasn't it? Yeah. No, I remember it well. No, that was no, that's fantastic. And so you've gone and you just keep progressing, and you do what a lot of people do, but then you've stepped it up a notch yet again. And then so what after Yarrabilla, and so I guess you stepped up to 100 kilometres?
Yeah, I read an article and it said, I think it was before the Yarrabilla actually. So the second year, 2017, and I actually had, I didn't train so well for 2017, and so my Yarrabilla that year was a bit slower. And a bit before the Yarrabilla, like 2 months before it, maybe 3, I'd read an article online and it said, is 100K the new marathon? And basically reading this whole article and that and thinking, I have to run 100K now. Like, is it the new marathon?
Yeah,
Like,
no.
this is the thing I
New
want to do in my
popular
life.
thing.
It's like
Yeah.
climbing Everest type thing. Can I actually achieve this? And I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe I should.
Yeah.
And
They say that I mean, I've been saying that for a while. 100K is a new marathon, but now they're saying 100 miles is the new marathon. It's like, when will it stop?
1,000.
Yeah.
Nah. And so I reckon I'd already signed up for the Hyson 105 kilometre race, which is, I think, around about the end of October each year.
Yeah.
So we got here's the progression at the end of how it was back then. Like in Adelaide, you've got the Adelaide Marathon about 20th of August, give or take. It was. Then you got the Yarrabilla Trail, 56K mountainous tracks, about the 23rd or something of September, give or take. And then you got the Hyson 105 kilometre about the end of October.
Yeah.
So
which I think is it was a good progression.
yeah, but not a lot of recovery between.
No, not quite enough. Yeah.
And so yeah, I think I did all 3 of those in 2017. In fact, I know I did all 3 in 2017. And the 105K, that was a serious challenge, and I actually read a fair bit, and as much as I could, read a fair bit and found it, but still was aware at that point I think I need some better guidance, because thinking to myself, look, I reckon I probably should run this distance, I reckon I should run that, but then thinking to myself, I don't know if this is right. But I did the Hyson, and honestly, I regarded that race, I had some bad times. I had some, probably at least 3 or 4 hours in that race of just, a death march.
Yeah.
But got through it and still, completed the last 20Ks, all right? Like, it was kind of the kilometres of about, I don't know, from about 55 to 80 Ks were the real tough ones for me probably.
Yeah.
But then it kind of came out of that and finished it off okay and achieved the goal I wanted.
Yeah. The
time
last
things.
sort of 30 Ks of that race is pretty flat, which is
Sandy,
good.
though. I mean, it's sand not being friendly.
Yeah.
And then thinking to myself, that was the best day of my life ever. And I really thought that. Like, I thought that a number of times during the run, just jogging along. You're running along some ridges, looking out and just thinking, you know, you might only be 50 Ks into a 100K race, but thinking, this is great. Just jogging along and having a bit of food, having a bit of a walk every now and then, and still knowing that walking is perfectly fine because it's a friggin' ultra marathon, and just knowing that you're going to get there, and then eventually, and then finish it, and that was the best day of my life. And then I'd said it to my wife the next day. I said,
big mistake.
I said, because at this point I've got 3 children as well, and I said to her, she said, how was it overall? I said, that was the best day of my life. And she kind of raised her eyebrows and said, are you sure? I said, yeah. She goes, really? I said, do you know what? I know what you're getting at, but I think it was.
Yeah. Like,
and so, yeah.
I thought she was going to say something like, you're not a smart man, are you?
Well, I'm probably not. But I am an honest person.
No.
And to be honest, that it was just like, everything.
What do you think makes it such an epic day? Because I can totally relate. I have felt finishing a 100K ultra for the first time and the second time and the third time, it's incredible.
It's not just the finish.
No, it's the whole thing.
Yes, it's knowing, it's the excitement and the nervousness of driving there, preparing, just having everything ready and thinking, yep, this is it. This is what I've been working for. Finally, I'm actually going to get to see, can I do this? And then during the race, still checking things and thinking, I'm actually going all right. Geez, I've run 50 kilometres. I'm actually still going. And knowing that it's acceptable to walk, like to knowing that even if I have to walk 10 Ks in the middle of it, something, no problem. I know what I'm trying to do here. I'm not feeling very good. I shouldn't have eaten all those blocks of chocolate.
Yeah.
I know I shouldn't have done that. Whoops. And I'll just keep walking until I feel a bit better, and then I'll just jog a bit. And every now and then you have a bit of a downhill, so you just jog that. You just walk the next hill, and you jog that, and you walk, and you jog, and you walk. And then eventually you actually think to yourself, you might be at the 80K mark, and you think, actually, I'm not so bad here. I could just probably run for a good 15, 20 minutes. You just jogging along. Just look like, some old runner having a very slow jog, but you're making progress. And every now and then you pass someone as well. Very slowly. I remember catching up one woman for ages. We turned onto this road, and it was a straight road for ages. Like probably I could see 2 Ks ahead, and she was at least 500 metres ahead. And I think, all right, I'll get her. And then it took me at least 20 minutes to get to her, because she was obviously in a race as well. Yeah. And everyone's there for a race. And then I caught up to her at some point, and I said to her, as I got to her, I noticed that the watch had just ticked over like 65 Ks or something. And I said, just chatted to her for a minute or two. I said, how you going? And she goes, yeah, all right. And I said, just a standard marathon to go. Yeah. And she said, yeah, I saw that too. Yeah. And so, you just keep going basically. It's
it takes I feel like in a race of that distance and probably greater, you've got to slow down your thinking. Everything's got to you've got to alter your mindset, don't you?
You can't be embarrassed to walk.
Yeah.
You'd be an idiot not to walk, actually.
No, and I think even the top guys, the guys at the very front of the field, are going to walk at some point, or at the very least. Like, people are not redlining the whole way.
Yes. No, you can't just run till you're spent and then walk home. It's like run a bit and recognise how you're feeling, and then just slow it down a bit, and then think, okay, I might actually just walk a bit here. My motto now is walk every hill. Yeah. That's my motto, walk every hill.
Yeah, and you do a lot of hills, and you do a lot of miles, which we'll get to in a second. And so you've, so it wasn't long after Hyson, was it that Hyson, that you contacted me, and we started working together eventually. Yeah. And so the training that you were doing before you met me to the training that you're doing since you met me, could you describe how that has sort of changed?
Yes. So I knew the concept of having long, easy runs. I've read a lot of running magazines, and you have elite athletes mostly write articles in those, and coaches, they mostly write articles. And so I'd read those. And so they would, and I remember a lot about Robert De Castella writing and saying that your easy run should be at this pace, and you should feel this. And so thinking to myself, that's it, that's what I'm doing, that's good, I'm doing that. So I'd be doing like a 30k, a 35 or a 45k run or whatever it was at easy pace. But in truth, now I know it wasn't at easy pace. It was a bit higher than that. It was a bit too fast.
Yeah.
And I think I probably wasn't really respecting how slow you should go for those very, very, very long runs. Because the thing is, you've got to run again the next day, which I usually did. I'd often do a 35 or 40k, probably a bit too fast, probably at least 30 seconds per kilometre too fast. And then the next day, I knew that if you're training for an ultra, you've got to do another reasonably long run the next day. So I might do like 18 k's the next day, but at a similar pace. But that would be a real grind, of course, because you're still buggered.
Yeah.
And so now I do those very long runs, at least 30 seconds a k slower.
Yep.
And so for me that pace usually it's around about the 6 minute 10 per k. That's what it ends up being for me, which is quite a gentle jog when you first. It's hard to believe that you should be running this slowly initially.
Yeah.
But I know that that's the pace I need to do those very long ones. I'd still walk every hill when I'm getting to some decent hills though. And then,
just to give some perspective on that, like, so you say you're doing your easy long runs at like 6 minutes 10 per k.
yeah, sometimes 6 minute 20.
Yeah, and obviously when I'm coaching, I don't really talk about minutes per kilometre, but I mean I talk more in like zones, which But as so what would be, so people can have an idea. So if you're doing that, what would be your race marathon pace? So if you're doing 6 minutes 10 per k for an easy run, what would your race pace be? Even a marathon.
Well, I did last year's Gold Coast Marathon.
Under 4.
I think it was. I think it's 4:25 per k. I think.
Yeah. So almost 2 minutes difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously that's subjective. It depends on who you are and what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. As a coach, I have trouble getting through to people a lot, is because they just want to go fast all the time. You look at the world's fastest marathon runner, Kipchoge. He can run about 2 minutes 40 per kilometre for a race, a marathon, which is like insane. His easy pace runs are about 5 minutes per k. So most of his training is at about 5 minutes per kilometre. So we're looking at like over 2 minutes differential there. And so if that were, I mean, that's just to frame it. I don't know. That's just a little coaching tip for anyone who's listening. And so because
I also found, there was a time when I'd identified that I was accidentally running too fast on these, and I kind of realised, I thought, okay, I must slow down, but literally couldn't go slow. Like I'd just try it, and because I was probably overstriding as well, and also there's kind of a lot of things coming together at once there. I knew that the magical cadence was 180 steps a minute. And I could never get that. When I'd count mine, it would be always like 165, 168. Maybe I could get up to 170. Right? This is even running fairly fast. I couldn't really get much. Maybe I was 175 in a race.
Yep.
And so I knew I was overstriding as well. And what I tried to do, the thing that I first was successful at when I started running, first was able to run slowly, was taking baby steps. Just thinking of baby steps. Basically, trying to halve my stride length. I never halved it, but and lo and behold, I'm taking these tiny little baby steps, and I accidentally then get my cadence up to the mid to high 170s. Yeah. And my slow spate, my long pace has now come down to like 6:15 and things.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me the trick was the granny gear. Like run, like you're on a bike and you're going up a hill in granny gear. Yeah. Just run tiny steps. And for me, that ends up being like 6 minutes 15.
Yeah.
But on a hot day, it's even slower. If it's a hot day, it's like 6:30.
Exactly. And because you might be, you'll dehydrate. Your body's working harder to keep you cool, and there's a lot of factors that can mess with it. So anyway, we won't go too much more into that. It is interesting, and I think because I as I always say, like that level when you're training for an ultra, that level of of training, that pace of training makes up such a huge proportion of what you actually have to do. And like speed work's important and tempo runs are important, but they're very small by comparison. So yeah,
and I would do it back then before I got some advice, professional advice. My tempo runs would be flat out. If I was to do a 10K tempo, it's the Olympic final, and you know I'm coming second sort of thing. So but that's how my tempo runs would be. Now I don't do quite like it's kind of like 3/4 pace.
But you're able to back it up then. That's the whole point, isn't it? So like if I get you to do a tempo run of some sort, you can back it up the next day.
Yes, because I don't do it at Olympic pace.
Yeah, and I'm all about the cumulative effect of training. You know, like it's what you do tomorrow and what's coming up tomorrow and the next day. And the next day.
You know, I read something, a clever little saying once in an article. It said, training is not to prove fitness, it's to improve fitness. And I think Strava's a bit like that too. Sometimes I've got to remind myself, you know, Strava is, you're not there to prove fitness, you're there to improve fitness, and that's just a tracking goal. Strava's a tracking app. It's not a bragging app.
That's a really good bit of advice. And I think a lot of people, myself included, get caught up into the look how fast I did that.
You know, I got so over that. I really don't care at all. It doesn't bother me. I don't care. I know I can run faster.
I think it can be really healthy for some people to just have a go at seeing what they can do. And
every now and then I'll push it. I'll push it.
But
segment,
I think it's so important to run with discipline and like So discipline. Speaking of discipline, so you stepped up into the 100-mile class. Was it about a year ago? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Hubert 100. So funny. After that, the best day of my life.
Yeah.
The 105 kilometre Heisen, I believe, because all the smart asses then say, "What's next, Matthew?"
Yeah.
And I'd heard some people talking at the finish line of the race about this Hubert. What is this Hubert thing? I had literally never heard of it. And people were talking about the Hubert. I go, what is this Hubert? So I just remember after about the fourth person, probably on Wastebook that next day, saying, "What's next, Matthew?" And me thinking, well, I must just look up this Hubert thing. And so typing in the Hubert 100 and thinking, 100 miles? Oh, I should do that. And I think by that evening, the Sunday evening, you know, I'm still sore, remember? Answering the next idiot who said, "What's next, Matthew?" Saying, I think the Hubert 100 mile next. But then all that week, just quietly, not mentioning it to another person, thinking, yeah, I think I will actually. Because just as a timeline, that was, so the Heisen 100K was, 105K was in end of October, and the Hubert 100 mile was the 5th of May or thereabouts.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, yeah, I could actually do that. But then I reckon I signed up for it like within a couple of weeks. And then thinking to myself, okay, I probably should, because I wanted to make better use of my training. Thinking to myself, I reckon I'm all right with my training. I reckon I'm doing roughly the right thing. But thinking to myself, I could use, I think if I'd had professional training, for example, the last 6 months before the Heisen, I could probably have, you know, maybe taken off half an hour or something, because I'm sure there was something I was doing that I could have done better. And just so thinking, okay, I must contact someone, and thinking, knowing no coaches, absolutely no idea how to contact the coach or anything. And so I reckon I emailed Ben Hawkins, the race director, and said, how do I get in touch with a coach?
Yeah.
And he's a coach anyway.
Yeah, I know.
And he said, he emailed back, he said, actually, I'm a coach, but he said, something about I'm not taking anyone, or I'm busy at the moment or something. And he gave me your number.
Yeah, right.
Actually, he did not give me your number. He gave me your name.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, how do I contact this bloke?
Yeah.
And then trying to go through Facebook and things.
Yeah.
And then went from there.
Yeah, no, it's good. I didn't know that. I'm not sure if I knew Ben gave you that my name. There you go. Yeah. Thank you, Ben. So then we trained and you.
So I think I said, can you prepare me for the Hubert 100 mile, please?
Yeah. And then we had a look at what you were doing, and I think one of the first things I did, I probably cut out a fair bit of the speed work I mean, I kept some. I know you were doing a fair bit of speed work at the time, which was okay. I mean,
I was doing 1 mile repeats.
yeah, they were impressive, and they were good. But I think I reduced that, didn't I? And but you as you have on your Strava page, you love a long run.
Yeah, I do. I just love to just have a nice old jog and just keep going.
So out of all the people that I've coached, you'd probably have the biggest training load out of anyone. So I think the last week you ran 120 something, and that was it. I think that was a recovery week for you. So I was just looking at your Strava this morning. You're about 120 kilometers, and it was a recovery week. So
I think it was supposed to be 136, but there was one run I skipped because I had a sore back.
Yeah.
I injured my back washing the car.
All right, off you go. Out you go. Yeah, so there you go. Washing cars is bad for your back. Don't do it. No, and so, but we've got you up to
The week before was 150.
150 Ks. So, I mean, it's not something it suits you. Some people, those kinds of mileage, it doesn't suit people. Like if I gave that, I've got someone who's training for a bigger event. I've got one of my female athletes, she's training for the Marathon des Sables in the Sahara. It's 250 kilometers over 6 days. Yeah, in sand.
I've got no interest in that.
Carrying a heavy pack. You've got to carry all your food. But her biggest training week is not as big as yours. Because it's not really necessary. And if I gave her a 150 kilometer week, it would probably break her. You know, she hasn't got, so she's an amazing athlete. So it is, I think, but you were able to cope with it. And I know that you get grumpy if I don't give you enough kilometers. And so
I like it. But I like just running a lot. Yeah.
Like your long runs, you've done a number of 50K runs just in the last few months. And how do you find those?
Fine. I love it. So there was a 50K one that you had me doing, or maybe 45, can't remember, on road, where you said the whole thing on road. So I knew the goal of that was to have leg turnover. And so that was, to run 50Ks around the suburbs of Adelaide. It was like an exploration run. I remember just going, like having a bit of not planning out the entire run, just planning out, thinking, okay, if I go up there, that's about 15Ks around there, that'll be about 20, that'll be down there, about 30. Just adding it up and having an approximate, and just kind of just jogging for at least the first 3/4 of it, just cruising along, making sure I'm when there's a hill coming up to just slow it down, and then making sure I'm eating and drinking, and also thinking about where's the next toilet, where's the service station, that sort of, because you're in the suburbs.
Yeah, you can't just go behind a bush. You get arrested.
Yeah. And it's funny when you jog into a McDonald's covered in sweat and to use the toilet, and people just look at you. Yeah. You just walk straight into the toilet, go there and walk.
You go and grab yourself a meal as well.
No. It's funny to just kind of jog in with your sunglasses, your hat still on, and everything just covered in sweat, and just go straight in the toilet, straight out again. But anyway, and so I like that, and I like the thought once you're like, say 40Ks into a run like that and still running, and just reminding yourself of that. You think, I'm still running and I'm 40Ks in and I've got 10Ks to go. Have I got enough to keep this going? Yes. Okay, I might have to slow down a bit though, right?
Yeah.
Just slow. Or maybe no, I'm actually really proud of myself, like impressed with how I'm going with this pace. It's just perfect. I've paced it brilliantly, keep going sort of thing.
No, I think so. You've found the flat runs. Obviously a flat 50K feels very different to a hilly 50K. Do you see, how can you describe sort of the difference for yourself, how that feels? Like, obviously, because a lot of people don't understand the merit when I tell them they've got to run flat, but like I'm a big believer in specificity.
Yeah. So when I'm running flat, I personally have to keep an eye on the watch. In the first 10 or so Ks, I've got to watch the watch. Yeah. Because I can very easily just slip into running 5.5 minute Ks, and that's what an idiot. I won't do it. And so for me, especially because I've still got to carry a fair bit of weight, because I've got water. I've got to carry a fair bit of water and a bit of food. Food's not that heavy, but you got it. So you're carrying like 3 or 4 kilos in total in your vest. Yeah. But that, for me, that's also a bit of practice for the race. You're going to be carrying that sort of
all the mandatory gear and whatnot. Yeah.
And so that's fine. And so in that first 10 or so Ks, I've got to just keep checking, making sure I'm not getting too fast. Yeah. And then after a while, it's once you've done good 10 or 15 Ks, then you're just cruising along, and I'll still keep checking the watch every time. for me, it just buzzes every K. I just look at it, but it doesn't bother me. Every now and then I'll do a K and I'll see it was like 7 minutes because there was a massive hill or something, and I'll you have a bit of a but then it's like, no, who cares? It's a hill.
Exactly.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Just keep going. To finish first you have to finish, and just keep jogging along, and then
Yeah, no, it's really good. And do you think? I mean, I think that your 50K runs have made you a better runner, obviously. But I'm just thinking about your you did the Alpine Challenge in 2018, and it was really interesting to watch that. I tracked you online, and to sort of tell us about that experience a bit. So the Alpine Challenge is traditionally like one of the hardest races in Australia, 100 miles, but it was a bit different this past year.
Wasn't it? Yeah. So that was in November just gone, 24th of November, I think. So it's in the Victorian Alps, and it's meant to have, I think, 7,000 metres of elevation, maybe 5,000, I can't remember. It's a lot in 100 miles. But last year that had a lot of snow. There was actually snow, like we were driving up. We're talking the 24th of November, 1 week before summer.
So late in the year.
Yeah, and the place is snowed in.
Yeah.
And so we're going to start a race in snow. And so they've had to dramatically change the course because there's too much snow. So I think in the end there was actually only 3,000 metres of elevation, or 3.5. So there wasn't much, but they were still massive hills, and they were ski slopes. They were literally slippery. And we're trying to run up these not in skis or crampons. And
were you running through the snow itself a fair bit? Yeah.
Oh, not a fair bit. In the first half, yes, it actually started to melt.
Oh, okay.
There was definitely still snow, and I remember the night. So they started the race at 8 in the morning, different start time than it was meant to. And I remember in the middle section, there's a section where it's because we ended up doing 4 laps of this 35K circuit roughly, and so you're going over the same ground a number of times. And I remember there was a section in the middle which had a lot of snow on it, like it was fairly flat. It wasn't snowing while we were doing it, but it had a lot of snow on it. And just running through this mushy trail for a couple of hours, really. But by the middle of the night, say 3 a.m., I'm running down this mushy trail, but it's not mushy anymore. It's frozen solid because it's gone down below zero overnight.
Wow.
And so you're literally running on ice, and it was kind of slippery, but ice with a trench down it. You know what I mean?
So it's not easy running. It
wasn't
in any
brilliantly
way.
easy. No.
Yeah.
But anyway, but I also had a bad training leading up to. You trained me beautifully, but I was
sprained your ankle.
Stupid enough to sprain my ankle pretty badly.
These things happen.
Yeah, and so that was 3 months before it, the ankle sprain, and so I literally couldn't run for 3 or 4 weeks at all at that point. And then that just gave me like 4 weeks. 2 months to train for it in the end, with plus the base training that I'd done for months.
We had to do that quick build back up.
So I had to really ramp it up very quickly, and knowing that I'd be very undertrained for this because it was just, and also my ankle was still dodgy, so I had to be careful of that ankle. Like it was still, I had to be literally careful as I'm putting my foot down each time, and so going into it just dramatically undertrained, but just knowing I'd have to just walk a lot more, and that's exactly how it was.
Yeah, right. And but you still, I mean, you did really well. What was your finishing time in that race?
Oh, it was like 27 hours.
Which is good, regardless of whichever way you look at it. But the thing I was really impressed with, watching the tracking you on the race, you were way near the back of the pack for
actually. I remember hearing that too. I remember I think there was 90 or 100 people in. I was 75th or 80th.
Yeah, you might have been in the 80s.
I know, and I remember, look, this after like lap 1 or lap 2, so I was like 35 or 70 k's into it, and my wife, because you come back past the same aid station 4 times, which is very handy, by the way, and so my wife was there, and she said something like, "You're currently 75th." I'm like, what?
Yeah.
No. Oh, that's bad.
But I knew you'd come.
No, I didn't really care. I didn't really care. I did in a way. I thought, that's first thing I thought was, well, that's par for the course. That's how I should be at the moment because I'm undertrained. But also knowing that I had been taking it easy. Yeah. I hadn't been. It's not a marathon. It's an ultra marathon.
I know. It's like
it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. No, it's not a marathon. It's an ultra marathon.
You got to tweak that saying,
And so just just keep plodding along. And then I was surprised at, especially in the night section, like 3 or 4 in the morning, overtaking quite a few people actually, and a lot of them were really depressed. You know, like you do get that depression. You get that. No, make no mistake, you'll get that depression where you just think, oh, bloody hell, and that can go for hours. But coming up to a lot of people, like just catching, I just always chat to them for a moment or two, even if they're walking and I'm running, and just stay with them for a minute. How you going? What are you up to? What are you blah blah? You know, where you from? This sort of crap. And then a few of them would say, oh no, I really had it. And then me thinking to myself, this is the Alpine Challenge. It is known to be a very tough race.
Yeah, and this is the easy version.
The easy part, I know.
Yeah.
And I knew I was struggling because I had, you know, very bad training for it. And you don't say this to them because everyone makes mistakes, and that's acceptable. And I've made mistakes as well. But just thinking to myself, oh, well, probably a good thing we're not on the real course then.
Yeah.
But then you just go, all right, I'll catch you around. And just and kind of move on a bit, yeah.
Eat my dust?
Not really. Yeah.
No, don't say that.
Yeah.
But
you kind of, it's racing in slow motion. It's like racing at a nursing home in a way, that far into a race. Sort of.
That's a really, well, you're not, instead of a walking frame, you've got hiking poles. Which is
yeah. But there's times when, and I remember on one of the probably the last lap, I remember the sun had come up, and being on this beautiful flat section, which I knew was coming up, and being really disappointed that I couldn't run, like I was too buggered.
Yeah.
I hadn't probably eaten enough, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
And just being really disappointed, thinking, no, I can definitely run this. I've got to run it. So I just started to jog along at like 6 minute 45k pace, and just trying to jog. And then after a couple of hundred meters, thinking, I'm actually going to faint here. So then just having to walk, and then just thinking, okay, I'll run 400 and I'll run 100 and I'll walk 400, this sort of stuff, and just going on a pattern like that for probably 10 or 15 Ks like that.
Yeah.
So just do a very small amount of running, but tell yourself, I'm going to get to that pole or that tree, and that's it.
Yeah.
But it's not a long one. Like don't set yourself, okay, I'm going to run a K.
Yeah.
Just knowing a very short one. Because thinking to myself, okay,
I do that.
I can run a K here, and thinking, no, actually I can't. So thinking, okay, all I'm going to do is just 100 meters. That's it.
Yeah.
And then you get to that 100 meters. Right, I can walk now because I said I could. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I do a similar thing. I do it in terms of steps sometimes. Whether I might say, if I'm going up a hill, trying to run up a hill, I might run 20 steps, then walk 10. You know, and if I think, well, if I break that down, it means I'm going to run 2/3 of this hill. If I keep doing that all the way to the top, because it's 2010. But it's really good. And so, but with that, your approach, you came through the field overnight, and you finished really well.
I think 35th.
Yeah, so you passed half the field in that.
Oh, some of them dropped out.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. It's like you say, you got to finish. Yes. Yeah. No, and that's it. Like, there's no point being able to running off fast and looking like a he-man or he-woman, a she.
Yes.
Yeah, and then it's a game of patience, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I read when I finished the race, then you start to look at all the comments that were on Facebook and things, and because my wife's friggin' putting comments on Facebook as I'm running.
Heaps.
I don't even know about it.
Yeah.
I don't even get to defend myself. But then one of them was from my sister, who, because at some point, like 12 hours into it, she'd said, my wife had put on that, he's currently in 85th or 75th position or something stupid. And my sister said something like, geez, Matt, that's, kind of a backhanded compliment. I can't remember what she said. But then at the end, then I get to comment on all these again, and I remember commenting to her, because this was 12 hours in. I remember commenting the first 12 hours as just a warm up, Louise.
Yeah, nice. Does she traditionally give you shit?
No, she's a runner herself a little bit. She's not much of a runner. Her longest run would be like 15 Ks.
Yeah, right.
But she occasionally runs. So.
That's funny. I know it's easy. And when you just see the numbers, like, it doesn't really give you a true idea of what's going on. I mean, I spoke to your wife quite a bit during that. Like, we messaged back and forth a bit because she was a bit worried about you, and then, of course. But I think in the end she was pretty amazed. And so, yeah, no, you did really well. And that we skipped over the Hubert 100, but that's where I sort of want to bring to now, because that's the next big race, is your second bash at the Hubert 100 miler, and up in Wilpena, starting and finishing
Flinders
in Wilpena
Range.
Pound. Flinders Range is a beautiful part of the world. So last year you ran really well, but you decided to take a little detour.
Yeah, we just got some bonus Ks. Yep.
Yeah, so so this year are you
Just a
planning?
few detours actually.
Yeah,
3 I think.
You end up doing like extra
I
12
reckon
Ks.
we did an extra 12. The watch stopped because it flat battery, but I'm quite at the point it stopped, and all the evidence I have. Well, the person I ran with reckons we did an extra 10. I reckon we did an extra 12. Okay, so we did somewhere between 170 and 172 kilometres instead of 160.
Yeah,
But I still came fourth. But yeah, but I ran with the winning female Hoa.
yeah,
And she was actually a really good runner. I'd never met her in my life.
yeah. She's great.
Spent the whole run with
Well,
her.
I'm not sure if she's doing it again this year, but I know
She's not.
She's not. She's training hard though.
She's doing Mont Blanc.
Oh, there you go. That explains. Yeah, but I was going to say, so you finished fourth, and I think that even then it was pretty good training. But I think you're in better shape now, if you ask me. And we just got to make sure your back doesn't.
Also a little bit smarter too.
Yeah, with
You learn,
nutrition.
like you literally learn.
Yeah, and there's certain things that as a coach, I can't teach people. You know, I can't teach people what it feels like.
No, you learn how
to
you're
feel
going to
it.
feel. You
Yeah.
learn how you're going to feel. You
Yeah.
learn that it will stop, or that maybe it won't stop. Certain things won't stop. You learn when certain parts are going to hurt, and you learn where to make the most advantage, and you learn what other runners are going to do.
Yeah,
You know, you just learn how they behave as well. Some of that to your advantage, some of that to learn from. So yeah.
yeah. No, very good. Well,
But this year I want to do much better.
yeah, I think faster times in order, and it is a fairly flat course. I mean, compared to
I think there's still 3,000 metres.
yeah, I know. Oh, absolutely.
But because there's two mammoth, or Ben describes it beautifully on the website, the arduous climb.
Yeah, but it's at the start and at the
Yeah,
finish.
that's it,
But
yeah,
there's,
just when you want
there's a lot of flat sections
Running
in the
in
middle.
between,
Yeah, so I think the combination of flat running will help you. But we'll see. We'll see if I've mucked it up. You can fire me.
Yeah.
So we might wrap this one up because you have done really well and given us a full life story. And I'm going to finish off with the Fast Five for you, as you know what it is. So you probably know the questions pretty well, being a regular listener. So you ready to go?
Why not?
Okay. If you could go for a run with any celebrity, living or dead, who would it be?
Have to be for Dippities.
For Dippities.
Ask the bloke, mate, did you really do it? Mate, was that, but because there's two kind of versions too. Did he run, from the Battle of Marathon back to Athens? Or there's another version that says that was not the race that happened. That was the one that they put in. That was not the run he did. He actually ran from Athens to, I don't know, Sparta or something, which was 200 Ks, like a week before, and asked for help in the battle, and they said, no, go jump. And so then he's run back and answered. So there's two versions of, I want to ask the bloke, what'd you do, mate?
There you go.
And why didn't you Facebook Live it?
Yeah. And why wasn't it on Strava?
Exactly, it never happened. And why'd you run naked, you idiot? Didn't you get chafe?
He would have. Question 2, 5 years from now, I want you to finish this, sorry. 5 years from now, I want to be...
Still running 100 milers.
Yep. Excellent. Question 3, your favourite type of workout. I think we've established that.
Yeah, long run.
Long run. Love a long run. Question 4, what is your favourite post-race drink?
Coke.
Coke. Yeah, nice. Bit of sugar.
Yeah. I'm not known for my nutritional discipline.
Yeah, well, we've gotten a bit better with that. You've gotten a bit better.
Have I?
I know you have.
No, I have a bit. Yeah, it's funny. I have got a bit of discipline in races, but I'm not a good dieter.
Yeah, all right. Well, there you go. We've got a few years to work on it then. And question 5, do you run with it's headphones or no headphones?
Absolutely never in my life will I ever put any of that in my head.
Well, there you go.
Never.
That's good. You're probably the first person that's come down really hard on the no headphones side.
I don't care if anyone else does it.
Yeah. I mix it up. I'm a 50-50. But yeah. Excellent. Matthew Woodman, thank you very much.
Since you having the privilege of interviewing me,
privilege.
I reckon a lot of the listeners would like to hear, get to know the man behind the mic. I reckon I should interview you next week.
Me?
What do you reckon?
Sure, why not? Okay.
Yeah, lock it in.
Yeah, all right then.
Stay tuned.
So stay tuned next week. You're going to hear more from me. You probably know.
We'll get to know the man behind the mic.
Oh, yes.
I'll dig.
The enigma. All right. Well, I'll see you next week again, Matthew.
No worries.
Okay. Cheers.